Hi, Secodimes. This is your probably only fan from Europe, I guess. Although, I don't know. Maybe I'm not. If I'm not, maybe somebody else will call in. Well, I don't remember what I wanted to say. Well, I was the one that commented about the phone number. And I did have something to say then, but I don't remember what I wanted to say. Well, that's too bad. Maybe somebody else is going to call in with something fresh to say. Something other than my ramblings. All right. I will hang tight till your next episode. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
There's a place in this town where kids learn the wrong things.
Stack of Dimes.
A place where they keep a vicious secret.
Stack of Dimes.
A place controlled by people who profit from pain.
Stack of Dimes.
Now, this town's vicious secret is exposed. There's only one thing to do. Get ready for
Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes.
Stack of Dimes. We are the podcast that has a crayon sharpener built into the back of us. Give it a shot, though. It's not going to work great. You're like, damn, dude, this is so cool. I can just sharpen my podcast crayon right here. It'll be just as good as when I bought the new box. It's like, no, you got to tear the paper off.
I was just going to say that. You always got to remember to tear a little bit of paper off first.
And then
otherwise that gets stuck in that little plastic nub.
Totally does.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't look as clean. It looks all like used and gross. You don't.
And you're going to break
anymore.
the tip.
Yep,
just expect to break the tip off that podcast crayon because it's never going to stay sharp. It'll stay sharp for the first 5 milliseconds.
Yep.
That you use it, and then it's just going to be a stumpy nub again.
That is the reason why I hated crayons when I was a kid. Because when you
hated crayons?
No, I liked them, but I didn't like. I like using colored pencils or markers more than a crayon.
Yeah.
Like if someone's giving me a coloring book, I'm finding other devices to color said book.
It always seemed like you really needed to press hard too with any crayon that wasn't a Crayola.
Oh, for sure.
If you got an off-brand crayon as a kid, man, did you feel like shit?
Yeah, and it was like all light and
didn't feel right.
No,
terrible. It was weighted wrong.
Awful. Did you ever get the the attaché case that like opened up and it was like a wall of crayons on one side and like watercolor and a paintbrush and I forget what else was in there. But
yeah.
my aunt
I think I pretty much got one of those every year for Christmas.
I think my aunt got me one every year for Christmas.
Yeah. Pastels.
Maybe some pastels in there.
Yeah.
What the fuck is a pastel, by the way?
It's an oil-based crayon.
I loved working with it in art class.
That's why it smells like fucking motor oil.
Oh, it smells great. I loved huffing them. But this, whatever brand this was that I used to get this attaché case, it was like orange. It opened up, it was black on the inside. I liked the way those crayons smelled better than Crayola, but using them, they were dog shit.
Yeah.
Huffing them and smelling them, they smell great.
So you're talking about the oil-based pastels?
No, I'm talking about, it may have been because there was pastels in there that leaked over to the crayons.
Oh, I'm sure.
But whatever wax crayon, I forget, it was like Paz. I forget what company it was. It's some terrible company. But the crayons themselves smelled chemically petroleum-based. I don't know what, dude. It smelled awesome.
Fucking oil-based.
Ugh.
Fossil fuel.
The worst thing about pastels too is they never really set.
They'd always be wet. Like if you touch that, if that picture gets overturned on a white table,
terrible.
Fucking God save your soul, pal, because your mom is gonna fucking kill you.
Exactly.
Kill you. Yeah.
So before we get going, our European brother, thank you so much for the call. Sorry you forgot about what you wanted to bring up for us, but the phone line does indeed work.
Yes.
He is proof of it. A couple other listeners said the same thing. Roden, you have the computer over there. What is our phone number for everyone?
The phone number is 206-395-5763. That's 206-395-5763.
So if you ever want to leave us a voicemail, and keep in mind, we'll probably use it on air, just like we used that one, please do so. Because in the past, me and you, we always say, hey, give us your stories about using Kratom or insert whatever here. And then we don't give the number because I can never remember this goddamn number. And then I think, well, maybe it doesn't even work anymore. But thanks to many listeners, they had a dozen deed work. They did some super sleuthing. They found it. And yeah, so there you go.
We got it.
So the other thing was, last show we did was you blew it, and you were talking about doing a show that took place in school or going back to school or whatever, what have you. I reminded you that class of 1999 took place in a school, but since we didn't do a movie, actually, the movie we did do was The Wildlife, which was basically the end of summer going back to school. Whatever, here nor there.
Right.
But what I do want to talk about is getting prepared to go back to school. Me and JD have done this show, I think, in 2020. If you want to listen to it, it's episode 399. And we touched more on, the clothes you get, the new shoes you get before you were going back to school, and how much of a nightmare it was when I was a kid. Because
extremely important, by the way.
Very important.
Yes.
And very difficult for a young Thunder. Very difficult for
Oh, man, the worst.
Terrible.
It was the worst.
Because there was no internet.
Yeah.
You bought what you thought was cool. Then you went to school and
it was all a guessing game, man. Especially if you didn't have cable. Like, you didn't know.
But even if you did have cable, what are you going to do? You're going to go buy what Zach Morris is wearing on Saved by the Bell? What are you going to go above the belt or Zoomies?
Yeah.
You're going to come up, showing up to school in Z Cavariccis with 3 belt buckles, pleated up top.
Maybe you're a little rodent and you kind of grew up in the woods and you didn't get a very good antenna reception. And so you couldn't even watch things like Saved by the Bell. So you didn't even fucking know.
Well, I'll tell you, I could watch Saved by the Bell, and I didn't have the balls or the money to go to Zoomies and buy that kind of clothes.
You couldn't get an international news sweatshirt?
No. And then, so what would happen is I'd go with my mom to Mervin's.
Oh, yeah.
To Mervin's.
Open.
I just had a discussion with a young kid at work who has no clue what Mervin's is. And I was like, don't worry, pal. It's called Kohl's now.
Yeah.
Because they've inhabited every empty Mervin's there is.
Right.
And it's essentially the same thing.
It does not exist anymore.
But no, I'd go and get my bullshit like that. And then like me and JD discussed on that episode, then you'd show up to school and you'd find out you're a dork, you bought all the wrong shit, and now you what are you going to say to your mom?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like these shoes.
Right.
I don't like these jeans.
It's like the first day of 7th grade, brand new school, little Roden, little 7th grade Roden, walking into class. Chelsea Bergwin is right behind me, getting off the bus. She goes, "What's up, Aaron? You waiting for a flood?"
Oh, yeah.
My pants were too tight or something.
Well, floods mean they're too high.
They're too high.
They're too high.
Yeah, it was tight and high. Never wore those pants ever again.
Were they pants? What were they? Jeans?
They were jeans.
What kind of jeans were they?
Probably Lee's, because Levi's were way too expensive.
So probably purchased while you were still growing, and maybe you grew a little taller, or you just didn't get the right length.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I never really cared about clothes until about 6th grade. Right, that's when you really start.
That's when you start. Then when you get into 7th, when you get into middle school, is when shit really hits the fan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But you don't know that the first day. Like, the first day, you're screwed unless you're plugged in with like an older sibling. Yeah. I was the older sibling, so I had to learn.
I had an older sibling. I was not plugged in with him because he wore, like he would wear like the Levi's. What was the fur-lined Levi's? You remember those?
Like a jean jacket with fur on the inside. Yeah. I had one of those. By the way,
he bleached the back to have like a bad boy logo or something. Shit, my brother was doing all sorts of wacky shit.
He was the first guy to wear no fear.
Yeah, pretty much. He had a mullet. He ran around with the crew that they were called the Dirt Bags. So there was no way I'm going to pull off what he was pulling off in 7th grade. So I didn't even try.
Did he really run around in a crew? They called themselves the Dirt Bags? That's a true thing.
The Dirties, yeah.
The Dirties?
Yeah, for short. The dirtbags and the dirties. Scarbelly, Ted.
I've heard about Scarbelly
Dodsky.
before.
Yeah. So
Oh my
anyhow,
God.
I wasn't quite ready for that sort
Sounds
of.
like a gang from the 1950s.
Yeah. Yeah. So like we discussed on that episode though, like JD brought up the fact that middle school for us, 7th grade.
Yeah.
You walked in that day and you realized, oh shit just got real.
Right.
Because that's when you're getting into your teens.
Yep.
You're doing tryout. You're basically doing high school light in middle school.
Yeah, totally.
And you're like, the fucking game has changed.
Yes, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
And especially with school supplies too at that point. Because
Yes.
you could be a kid, and I don't know what like kind of supplies that I had with me. I'm pretty sure there was probably some neon colors
Yes.
on my peaches.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You know? Because those were a big thing, you know, back in the 90s especially. It's like I remember like peaches, which were just folders.
Just folders.
Right?
Yeah.
That had like black. It looked like it was like black splatter paint, and then the shadow to the splatter paint would be like a
Like it's like the splatter's raised and the shadow behind it, right? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, but it wasn't actually raised.
No,
right?
I mean,
it's giving
visually.
the effect.
Yeah,
right?
Visually the effect.
And
of
there'd be
it,
like
yeah.
a neon color behind it or
Oh,
something like
fuck,
that.
that's
right?
cool,
So
man.
almost like a pair of Zubas.
You were cool
you know?
then. You were pretty cool.
Yeah. Or what could have happened is I was still using my Garfield peaches. Yeah. And that probably would have changed real quick too.
Right,
Like
because,
the first class taking one of those out.
Yes.
So, because I was quite obsessed with Garfield,
Oh, you were.
especially in elementary school, and like
You and JD
just,
both.
like the cut of his jib, man.
You and JD both. They had those weird long books.
Yes,
The books were
loved
like-
them. Absolutely loved them. I used to go to the book fair, get me some Garfield long books.
Yes.
You know,
I'll
that
give-
and the Far Side. The Far Side had the same size books.
Those were. I'll tell you, man. When you had a unique sort of, and obviously they're panels of
Right.
comics when it comes to
Yeah.
Garfield,
Yeah.
especially, but to have a unique kind of your own look to your book, and you can set them on the shelf, and they all are in unison.
Yes.
That's some cool shit, dude. The OCD in me is like,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, those long books. Yeah, JD loved that shit. Loved himself some Garfield
Oh man,
long
and
books.
you know, you look back on Garfield now, not funny at all.
No.
Not funny at all.
No.
Maybe the drawings I think is what you draw you in. Though it's the big circle eyes,
Yeah.
the kind of the cloudy type hair,
Yeah.
stuff like that. You know, but
Real dumb.
But yeah, peaches, man.
Yeah, so let's reset here for a second. So
Sure.
we're going into school supplies. Probably for us, it will be mostly elementary, going into 7th and 8th grade. Not so much high school, because at that
Yeah.
point it's like, you know, it gets really kind of boiled
You're
down.
out of that shit anyway.
Yeah, you're out of that shit basically. So, and we didn't, like I said in the last show we did way back when, we didn't really get into this so much. We got into it a little bit. So, and the reason I bring it up too is I don't know how much you have to go through this anymore. I don't have kids, but you do. What is the process like now doing this?
Well, a lot of it's done online.
Online,
man.
right?
Yeah, the grief has been kind of taken out of it to a certain extent.
So do you get like an emailed list of what they
You do,
need? And
yeah,
then
yeah. And I mean, that's what it was like when I was in elementary school. You get not an email, but you get a letter in the mail saying this is what you need.
here are the
right?
supplies. Yeah.
Yeah, here's a supplies list. But now it's less about. It's more about making everybody feel okay about what they have.
Okay.
Right?
Like explain.
So they say, you know, no extravagant, like, you know, trapper keepers or anything like that.
Right.
You know, big folders and stuff like that to, you know, it's like getting rid of all the bragging rights, which I'm fine with.
So essentially, like, make it as plain as possible so others don't feel left out because they like, hey, I've got a really cool, I don't know, a Taylor Swift fucking folder.
Right.
But you know, Jane over there only has her mom's beat up Peachy that has
Yeah, exactly.
a bunch of scribbles on it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like it's more so like, you know, telling parents like, please don't buy this kind of stuff, you know, because it can make other kids feel left out, and that kind of shit. So it's not.
That's very thoughtful because in the 80s,
is very thoughtful.
Because in the 80s, it was just like, here's what you get, blah 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 blah, and let's try to get the
the coolest looking one.
If you're I don't know,
find.
Blaine Beecham, let's get all the cool looking stuff and a cool weird pen that makes, you know, metallic, has metallic ink, and, you know, a Transformers this with a that, and then, you know, then you get shamed, and all you want to do is have that cool stuff too.
Yeah. All you've got is like your number 2 pencils with like a
Tycon Darogas. Yes, I do.
Maybe your mom bought you a special little grippy thing that can slide over the top of
yes.
it in the shape of like a big elongated triangle.
Which you find
actually made it worse.
I was just gonna say, you find out within 10 minutes, you're like, oh, I'm glad I got this contoured thing for my fingers. Oh, this sucks. I hate writing with this thing. Off it comes into whatever drawer or whatever bag you have.
No, into your
what is that thing called?
Pen and crayon holder.
Yes. What is that thing called though? What was that thing called?
Oh God, I don't know.
You're talking about that box,
a school box,
school supply box.
Yeah.
That we had the classic like gray blue one that the top popped off. And
I'm sure everybody in the United States had the same fucking one. Mine was yellow.
Got all coated with shit on the bottom.
Oh yeah, I used to draw on it. Shit, you know, it was full of
like
crayons.
Inside shit that was like crayons rolling around, ink, something busted open.
Yeah.
Fucking glue on the bottom.
So back in elementary school, I also remember that you were also required to buy like a set of markers. Right? Like colored markers.
I don't remember specifically.
For art. And my parents one year bought us like Mr. Sketch. I think it was Mr. Sketch, the scented markers. And those
What was the best one?
Oh, strawberry.
Oh, cinnamon. Brown cinnamon.
That was probably the most fragrant. Yeah. Or you know what the one I really liked was the black one because it smelled like licorice.
You like that black licorice?
Didn't
mind the green one that smelled like mint too. I like that one too.
Yeah. But then you'd accidentally mix them.
Terrible.
You know, you'd like draw over a line that you just drew over with something that's way more fragrant.
Yep.
You know? Mm-hmm. Than the watermelon scent, and it would just fuck up the watermelon scent.
Yeah.
Like
but you're not smelling
it. Stuff.
You're not smelling it. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh, I would just smell the straight up pens.
That's like what I would do.
That was the whole thing with those things too. It's like, what are you going to take the paper and fucking smell the paper?
No,
you're not going to smell the paper.
But what would happen?
You're sitting there fucking huffing pens.
Yes, get you started early on that shit. Yeah,
yeah, man.
But no, I mean, I like. Did you ever taste one?
What's the point? Yes, of course I did.
Just like if it smells this way, it's got to taste this way. Never tasted that way.
Nope, doesn't work.
Sure didn't. The worst was like what you're saying when you actually screwed the tip up.
Yeah.
Like so you went over too far into the black, and now the lemon, the yellow or whatever has like a little bit of black on it, and you're like, did that fuck up the smell of the pen? You know. Then they dry out quick, and they're all just those are actually trash pens.
Oh, they're awful. They're awful.
They were trash.
And they get like, especially when like the tips would get kind of torn up a little bit.
They get frayed,
just get frayed, and like it just wouldn't work right.
No,
you couldn't make a full line with that. But those, I do remember, like you said, lemon. Was yellow banana?
It may have been. I don't remember liking.
By the way, worst fucking flavor of candy, and
terrible.
Also worst smell.
I mean, I'll eat it. Don't get me wrong, because I'm gross. But
well, you're the younger brother to a member of the Dirty Boys, so
older brother, the Dirtbags.
You're the younger brother to the.
Oh, I'm the younger. Yes. Sorry, I thought you were talking about my. Whoa. Because I do have a younger brother. I thought you.
Let's pay attention.
Well, you know, you're way the fuck over there now. This new setup, you're across the room from me, so I can't. You know, I can't read lips with this.
Can't see the whites of my eyes.
Yeah, I can't see shit. You have those fucking pens, Mr. Sketch. I think you're
Mr.
correct.
Sketch, man. Yeah.
I mean, can you find a list of what the scents were?
You know, I'm looking at it right now because the ones that I had were in the blue.
Yeah,
do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 70s they had a different box. So let's see. Oh, it does say lemon.
Yeah, I didn't think
I'll
it was
be
banana.
Damned. Okay. I thought it was. Yeah, I thought.
I hated the.
So there was cherry. Cherry was red. Licorice black.
Yep.
Melon was pink. I did love melon.
I wasn't the biggest melon guy.
I loved melon because it smelled like watermelon. It didn't smell. It didn't smell like cantaloupe.
I thought it was more cantaloupe. You sure?
Brown was cinnamon.
Loved it.
Green, dark green was apple.
Loved it.
Turquoise was mango.
Yeah, I never liked turquoise.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. Raspberry was magenta. Mint was green.
Loved it.
Let's see. Blueberry was blue. That was pretty sweet smelling.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
And then orange was orange, of course. And then cinnamon was brown. I don't know if I said that one.
Yeah, you already did.
Yeah, dude, a lot of fond memories of those pens. A lot of fond memories.
I never had them. My parents never sprung for them.
Oh, I think my parents only sprung for them once.
But we had them in class, and they were shared amongst like the teacher.
Oh, so they were just totally fucked up.
Totally fucked up. The teacher had them. They were like a special thing.
Right,
like, okay, we're going to make posters here. Let me get my markers out. And it was like, holy shit, Mr. Sketch, get out of here. How about this, though? How about when, because I believe Mr. Sketch made other markers, and when you'd get it, you'd go, oh, fuck yeah, and you smell it, and it was just regular.
Just regular.
It was just a regular marker,
based
whatever ink that is, yeah. It was like, damn, I thought it was a Mr. Sketch. This is bullshit.
I don't remember any other Mr. Sketch products. Maybe
I'm
like
wrong.
Coloring books or something.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I swear.
What else did you guys? What was kind of a staple for you guys? Were you a Trapper Keeper family?
So,
because we were not. Like they were always way too expensive.
So the like the rules that you just said for your kids, where it's like none of this extravagant stuff.
Right.
That was one of the rules I distinctly remember, is you could not have a Trapper Keeper
because it became a thing. Like later in the 80s, it became a thing, and I do remember that happening where people were like, okay.
And
we got a lot of butthurt kids in school because these Trapper Keepers are kind of expensive.
They're expensive. And
parents aren't, some parents can't afford it.
Correct.
And then other kids are bringing this stuff and they're like Velcroing off. It's probably like kind of annoying to hear that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we've litigated this on the show, and there's several reasons for it. One, it's because, haves and have-nots, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Two, they always had that Velcro, so it was like when you open the flap up, it was, and like kids that age, they just love going.
Right. And they're constantly getting into that thing.
Fidget. And three, when you open the thing up, everything inside was plastic, including the three rings, the 3-ring binder, quote unquote, portion of it.
Yeah.
And you had a little slide thing that opened it up. It didn't snap together. It didn't lock.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah, you slid this thing out and it opened up. And so oftentimes kids were accidentally opening up, losing papers out of it, and they weren't that sturdy. So I think all of these things... Just basically, teacher said, enough of this bullshit. Let's just say you can't have them.
Wow, dude, that like really opened my whole world.
Yeah,
and that tore my world apart because I always thought, because I never had a Trapper Keeper.
They were garbage, and they're also like if you got a three ring binder.
Yeah,
they were sturdy.
Yes.
No matter, they're plain looking, they were sturdy.
Yeah.
And they had the metal 3-ring binder in there. And it was like, that shit was like,
it was like office. It was literal office supply.
It was literal. Did you ever don't pinch your finger in that shit. In the tines. Because did you notice it was like, it fit
it was like teeth.
It was like teeth.
Yeah.
So, and the thing with those was you could fit more stuff in them too.
Yes.
You got a Trapper Keeper. Trapper Keeper was about half the size.
Okay.
So you couldn't fit as much. It was garbage. It was just a thing that you saw commercials for during cartoons.
Well, and they used to put, they
branded shit.
Yeah, they put branding stuff all over them. Like they had New Kids on the Block.
I'm sure you could get a Garfield one.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Terrible.
They had them. Of course, the big thing too is all the Anne Frank style stuff or Care Bears or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Unicorn with a fucking rainbow.
Yes,
there was a lot of unicorns with a rainbow behind it.
For sure.
Those days.
Yeah, I had one Trapper Keeper.
Yeah.
I think we bought it and didn't know, and so it was like I took it to school and was like, okay, you can't have it, whatever.
Sure.
So then we just got a 3-ring binder. I think he used my brother's or something. And I had that at home. I put my baseball cards in it. And the thing just it just fell apart. I mean, I didn't even use it all that much.
Right.
Just started tearing at the seams.
Well, that was the thing with those that weird plastic.
Yes.
Like on one side, it's kind of matte finish. On another side, it's glossy.
Yes.
And that plastic would degrade so very quickly, especially because you used it as it was like it didn't have a fucking gotta say the F word way too much, but it didn't have like a proper spine on it, right?
Yeah.
The spine was just plastic.
The
so
plastic
it's like
was
fold,
the hinge. Yeah.
But that's the word I was looking for.
You kept going
hinge.
over and over and over, and it would just blow out.
Yeah,
It would
just fucking just rip
Crack.
apart.
Yeah.
Crack and rip apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do remember, like, we had these, my mom would buy us these 3-ring binders that were like almost like a denim material. You remember those?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a rough kind of denim or something like that.
Like a
Over
gunny
cardboard?
sack, like a gunny sack material almost over
Yeah, but
cardboard.
the weave is a lot tighter.
Yeah, a lot
right?
tighter.
It was
But-
some
but-
sort of fabric that was glued to
I
the.
totally forgot about
And
those.
I used to love drawing on it with a Bic pen,
Right.
Because you could fill in the grid, between the weave.
I totally forgot about these. Yeah.
Oh man, I used to love those binders, and we would constantly get those for a new school year.
Yeah.
The other ones that I really like, the Peachies, right? These thin folders.
Yeah.
What were the ones that had all the sports scenes on them?
Those were Peachies proper.
Those were proper Peachies.
Yeah, because I think
Okay.
it had to do with the color of it was.
Yeah, it was
like
manila.
A peach. Yeah, it was like but which
a
is
little bit
sort
more
of,
orange.
a little bit more orange and
Yeah.
kind of like the flesh color of a peach when you
Right.
open it. It was kind of looked that way.
Okay.
I think that's why they're called Peachies. Interesting thing.
Makes sense.
A West Coast thing.
Is it really?
Yeah, because we on one of our radio shows we were talking about, I think the artist who
made those?
who drew all that stuff for it. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
he took the pass a couple of years ago. And
shit.
Yeah, and we were talking at something. There was something in the news about the guy who did the art that was on the Peachies that was like very iconic.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it at work, and one of my coworkers who grew up in New York is like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What is a Peachy?"
You're kidding
and
me.
we brought
because those were in movies, man.
I know. And we brought it up on online. He was like, "Never seen that in my life."
Shut the
and
front
he's
door.
40. He's 40.
Huh.
And
That blows my mind.
And then we looked it up online, and it was like very much a West Coast.
So what they have for folders in New York?
Guess just folders. I don't know.
What a sad
Maybe
existence
I'm
that
wrong.
was.
Maybe this guy's wrong.
They will never know the joy of drawing an afro on like a baseball player
or a mustache
or
a boner,
huge dick
or a
Just-
huge boner, or turning that tennis racket into a battle axe.
Yes.
like all of that shit. No,
Dude, that was the funnest. That I would look forward to a new Peachy folder
Amazing.
all the time because it was just a blank canvas.
That was so
you can
great.
get as gross or as funny as you can
Yeah.
possibly get
This is the best.
on those things because it's just a perfect template.
It's great.
For a big old dick or like a fart cloud.
A fart cloud was classic, or a booger coming out of one of their
A
noses.
booger or a missing tooth.
A missing tooth was
for
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Loved
oh, my
it.
God, dude,
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Love that stuff.
I had several of those. Do you remember when they got a little high class and they started changing the color up?
Yes.
They had like shock pink ones and
Yep.
you know, like
that was like early
green,
90s and stuff like that too, right?
I loved all of that shit, like the fluorescent green, fluorescent yellow, fluorescent orange, fluorescent pink. I love those colors.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
In the 90s when it was hitting hard.
Were you a hypercolor kid?
I
you
did
have a
talk about this on the other
hypercolor
show. I got a rip-off version, the Mervin's version of a hypercolor shirt, which is like one wash, the hypercolor stopped
And it's
working.
gone.
And all those shirts did was basically highlight where you sweat.
Oh,
so
that's
the
right.
pits
Yeah,
would constantly be one
Sorry
color.
for bringing that up
Yeah.
because I do remember
Yeah.
you guys talking about that now. Yeah.
What other supplies?
Stickers were always a thing too.
Big
like
deal.
You had to have like a
sheet of
like
stickers.
a sheet of stickers or
And
something.
if you're
like
really
that. I
cool,
do
you had the
remember that.
scratch and sniff.
The
Here we
scratch
go
and
again.
sniff. Yeah.
Which don't scratch them.
No, you're just gonna ruin them.
You're gonna ruin them.
Yeah,
And
you can still smell it
You
without
can still
scratching
smell it without scratching it. And then when it starts to dull, you're like, maybe
That's
if I
when you
scratch it, it'll how it
Isn't that how it worked?
That's
though?
what that's why it
You
was
gotta
called
like
scratch
rub
and
like
stuff.
some of the waxy substance off the. God,
But-
no wonder we have cancer.
I know.
Like no wonder our
It's terrible.
generation is
We
just
left.
fucking rocked with cancer.
We were just taught to smell every
Yeah.
chemical that could reproduce.
Put it in your lungs. Put it in your respiratory system as quickly as you can. Yeah.
bless.
Jesus Christ.
Those were-
huffing fucking pens, scratching weird waxy substances that smell for months.
Yeah. Do you remember the sheet of like? This is wild. You're probably going to remember these. There were pink stickers, and you're talking about unicorns and horses and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it was a square sheet, and the girls always had them. They're like bright pink behind them, and it was like, and each one was like a square of like a horse or a unicorn or whatever. Those were the sticker sheets they always had.
I do remember those. I do remember something like close to that used to come in a book. Like you could get like sticker books,
Oh,
right?
totally.
Like there were just books with pages of stickers.
They were like a coloring book, and in the back they had pages of stickers.
Yeah.
And there's places that you could properly put them within the pages and then color them.
Yep.
Color the page and then put the sticker in there.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking about. I don't know.
Yeah, stickers were a big deal.
Yeah.
And those were also things that you'd get at a Scholastic book fair.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They had a bunch of stickers you could get there.
Yeah. I always had like a collection of like special, like maybe one or two special pens or special pencils as well. Like you'd get the tight or the number 2 pencils. You had to have a box of that, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then, but my mom would always we would always see, those special pens. These things were so dumb too. It was like a plastic tube, right? And then it had,
I know where you're going.
Like.
We talked about this on the other episode too.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but no, go for it.
The connector things that would like slide out.
in, yeah.
But
you lose one.
You lose one, and you're
fucked.
fucked. You're fucked because you can't push them. You can't push them through without all of them in there.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Let's. I was trying to explain.
Things sucked, man.
I was trying to explain this on the other show too.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can, because I think JD got it, but I don't know if the listeners did.
Okay.
So it looked kind of like
a little bullet. It looked like a little bullet.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the pen. The pen. It's not a pen proper, but it was plastic like a pen was.
Yeah, like a Bic pen.
Like a Bic pen.
You could see through it.
And you had these plastic, like you said, bullets. And mine were always white plastic,
white,
with a graphite lead tip.
Yes. That were glued in there.
Yes, the tips were glued into the
plastic,
white plastic
shell
thing. Yeah, the shell. And what you did was you had, one at the end that you'd write with, and then behind that one, 20 more, right?
Not that many.
Whatever
I think it was like maybe 10.
10. They fit behind each other like a puzzle.
And they go through the tube.
They go through
plastic.
the tube. And so when one dulled, you'd pull that one off the front, the tip, and you'd put that in the back.
You'd shove it in the back.
Shove it in the back, which would push a new tip out at the bottom.
Yes, yeah.
And the other thing that was bad, if you pressed too hard, you could get that thing to blow out in the back. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Like it would push the back part out.
It would push the back part out and off.
Yeah.
And then once you did that...
They were just shit.
They were shit. Once you did that, that thing loosened up, and it was hard not to do from that point on.
And then it was just garbage.
And then if you had a blowout like that, and one of those went firing somewhere, and you didn't know where it went firing, and you lost it, you are fucked.
Yep, you're screwed because you don't have the pressure. You don't have enough of those things pushing up against the one that's at the tip that's currently being used.
And I'll do you one more on those
to keep it there.
Those piece of shit things.
They used to do those with crayons too, or colored pencil kind of thing.
Really?
So you could, I had one, and you could you could change the color of it, right? So once you're done with one color, you pull this out. This is the dumbest thing in the world. It took forever.
Yeah.
It took forever to get to the color you wanted, right?
Oh, that was... That was stacked somewhere up in there.
Stacked somewhere in that pen. And you'd have to take it out. It's like, I don't want green, don't want yellow, don't want orange, don't want red.
So
looking for black. Oh, there it is. Okay, now I got to stick all these ones in here. Oh, my God.
The other thing about those piece of shit things, too, is like, you couldn't go to the store and buy extra tips.
No.
They came with the pen, and then or the pencil or whatever the fuck it was.
And they were probably like 10 times more expensive than a fucking
absolutely. But at no point did I was like, I'm just going to get more of these because I lost one. Yeah, where do you buy them? Stupid. Totally stupid. What were those called?
I have no idea. But they I think they took the idea of the multi-pen, right?
Yeah,
the multi-pens were great.
The multi-pens were
when they were the orange ones, like that professionals actually used.
Well, okay, so
there was like only like it was a thinner
and
thing,
it had like three or four colors.
Yeah, it had like maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah,
and those things actually worked really well.
Yeah.
You had black, you had red, you had blue, you had green.
Which are like the standard.
The standard
Other than the
pen
green,
colors.
the green is like whatever. But the standard pen colors, yes,
Yeah.
you were.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to go with ladies. I know I don't want to be gender specific, but this is the reality of it. When I was a kid,
Sure.
girls always had that big, thick one.
The big, thick, fat one that looks like a dildo.
It looks like a dildo, and it was half white and half light blue, like cloudy blue,
Right.
and then 10, 12 colors.
A lot of them.
A lot of colors.
Yeah.
And they're all spring loaded, so you'd like bring one down if you want blue. It had all the like colors of the rainbow up there. And anytime a girl brought those out and was writing a letter or something, I was always impressed. I was always like, this is fucking amazing. But if
Technology today.
Oh,
That's what you're
man,
saying.
Look at what the future's
Look what the
holding for
future
us.
is going to be like.
But if you ever got your hands on one, the ink wasn't quite right.
No.
Very
it was never
thin.
dark. It was never dark enough.
Never dark enough.
Yeah, it wasn't like those professional ones.
Yeah.
Like that was the professional clicky pen. Like my mom was a nurse, right? She
Yeah.
was an RN, and she used to carry one of those around because she would use different colors of that pen for different things. So like, and I don't know what those were, but she always had one. It was great. It was so cool.
yeah,
We
yeah.
had a bunch of those at the house. But yeah, I think I used to bring one to school, you know, but we weren't really using ballpoint pens.
No.
in elementary school.
And I brought this up on the other show too, but like pencils for me, I was very specific of the pencils that I wanted to use.
Yeah.
Do you remember we had in the library, we had a quarter, just like a machine that would dispense
Oh, yeah.
special
Yeah.
pencils
Yeah.
that were like, but they're always just round and they had stuff
Yes.
etched in them like Transformers or whatever. Like,
Oh.
like branded things that were stamped around the outside.
I do remember getting those. You'd get one whenever you went to the dentist.
Oh yeah, you'd get them when you go to the dentist.
know,
and we
yeah.
had in our library, we had a machine that would dispense them. If you had a quarter, you put it in there, chunk, chunk, and then you didn't get to choose really what pencil you're going to get. It would show you what's available at what slot.
Yeah, you get a
So it's
Spider-Man one.
Like, oh, Rainbow Bright's over here. No, thanks. I'm going to go over to the Spider-Man one. But I don't know which character I'm getting. I don't know which version of the Spider.
Yeah.
So I do that. And they also had
But those ones would break. Sometimes they would even separate down the middle.
they had you're right. They had
Because it was like two pieces
halves.
of wood that
Yes.
was sandwiched together.
you could see the seam.
And that's why teachers would require you to get a number 2 pencil.
Number 2, Ticonderoga is the best.
Yep.
It's the
Yep.
best.
Yeah.
But what
Because
about
they wouldn't break as easily.
What about those bullshit number 2 pencils that were made of that composite,
The composite material,
like
the
mashed
plastic?
together wood pulp or whatever?
Yeah.
And they were like super rubbery and bendy.
I actually
Fucking
hated
those
those.
things.
I actually liked those because the lead in those was a little bit more strong.
Yeah, I always thought it was soft.
Well,
The
yeah,
tip
that
would go
yeah,
like-
it was soft, but it would stay together better.
I don't know, man.
It would stay together better. It wouldn't write as dark.
I will say this: it wouldn't write as dark. It would stay together because the other one, the other graphite, could kind of chip off sometimes.
Yeah, and that
If you got
was
real
like a
nice
number
tip-
2, right?
Yeah, if you got a really nice tip and you just wrote with a fresh, it
Yeah.
would just like it would kind of like chip and crush. And
That was the thing
down.
too. It's like you'd always want a sharp pencil, right? You'd always try to get your pencil the sharpest you possibly could, but then it would just fucking tear the shit out of the page.
So it would tear the shit out of the page. And I loved using the actual pencil sharpener in a schoolroom that was
And it
mounted on the wall.
smelled so good.
Smelled so good.
So
And it
good.
gave you a really good, like it had those two.
The burr grinders.
Yes,
almost,
that's
right?
what they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking love that. But on talking about pencil sharpeners, what about the bullshit ones that you could get from the store that were like razor blades?
Oh yeah, and
you
you'd
twisted,
shave.
you'd
It was
shave
the
it.
shave.
I hated
that one
those.
would always tear the graphite
Yes.
at the end too. Like you could, there was a sweet spot.
There was a sweet spot,
But it was so hard to find that sweet spot. It's
Terrible.
like one half turn too much, and you're tearing through everything, and you got to start over. You know, and sometimes those things too would knock a piece. It would like break the graphite inside the pencil,
Yes.
and then a whole chunk of pencil would come out,
like,
and
fuck.
you'd have to like. Sometimes you just have to break off the tip of the pencil and then start again,
And start
because
shaving it down again.
Once you get it to a certain point of shave,
Yeah.
it will not sharpen anymore.
Yes.
And so You'd have to break it off and then stick it back in and do that.
You know what I loved about those
awful.
Those pencil sharpeners too is they always had one hole specifically for number 2, and then one hole for like a bigger pencil. Right. Whoever had that bigger pencil? I knew no one to have that bigger pencil.
Never worked. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. So dumb.
Fucking stupid.
Now you brought up that there was the crayon sharpener.
Yeah.
That was a later thing that came along, and that was a full plastic sharpener.
It was.
You remember this thing? Did you ever tear it out?
It was on the bigger.
Yeah, it was on the big box
of the crayons.
Right. Yeah,
and the shavings would just go inside the cardboard box. They would be in there. If you wanted to get them out, you had to pop the bottom open, shake it out.
But it never quite worked right. You did have to. We touched on this already, but you had to tear some of the paper off and stuff, which I always hated. I wanted it to be perfect.
Me too,
dude.
Me too.
Because like opening a box of crayons,
that's the best.
Especially if you got nice ones.
Oh yeah,
right, man. They
had them stacked in there.
Did you ever watch the video on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
When they're
about
manufacturing,
how they made crayons.
Great.
That is that imagery is seared in my mind.
Well,
Seriously.
and I love the way they looked. Like at the beginning of the show, I love the way they looked when you got them in the box.
They had that shine.
They had that shine to them. I almost didn't want to use them to ruin them.
Yeah, totally.
And then once you get going and you really nubbed them down, it was the worst because you put them back in the box too. You've got one that's halved down.
Right.
It goes way down in there. You have to flip the thing upside down to get it out.
The worst part,
you can't put it back in the box.
No, you
it's
couldn't
too short.
get it. Yeah, you couldn't get it in there.
Well, you get it in there, it's just you can't get it out.
Without taking out a bunch of other crayons.
Crayons,
right?
yeah.
But the worst part is letting your friend Graham borrow one of your colors because you had more colors than the kid sitting next to you.
Oh, yeah.
And Graham takes it and he fucking just meat hands that shit and just pounds it into his page. And then you end up with like your perfect crayon is just fucking broken in half or some shit.
Do you want to know?
Thanks, Graham.
Do you want to know to me what were for me, the of that massive pack that you get, my favorite colors were in there was the silver, the gold, and the fucking bronze.
Those were
Loved that.
worth their weight in each of those solid actual metals.
They were so cool looking.
They were the coolest thing. When those first came out, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
Those were always missing. Like if I found a box, they were always used to hell or someone stole them, whatever.
Right.
Always gone.
Yeah. How are you going to make your sword look so lifelike?
I know.
Now?
How?
You can't.
No.
You can't.
No.
You're going to try to mix a couple colors like black and gray? It's not going to fucking look right.
That won't work.
It's not going to look right.
Should we get into the eraser game?
Let's do that because erasers were a weird thing, right?
They were weird.
And they got weirder.
Yeah. You had your typical, if you're talking
Pink.
about like you had eraser toppers that went at the end of your pencil when your other eraser
when
got
the eraser
down
that's
to the nub
on the pencil was
itself
destroyed.
I mean, if you were someone who was, I don't know, like really well off, like I don't know, again, I'm just going to go with Blaine Beecham. He was the type of guy who would get a eraser topper and put it on a brand new pencil so that he wouldn't fuck up the eraser that's attached to the pencil.
Yeah.
And when that eraser started failing and getting worn through, you pop that one off, you got the brand new one underneath.
Yeah.
I never went that route.
I went that route a lot too because I did like because they came to a point, right? It was like almost like
came to a point.
A chisel head.
Yep.
That's on the tip of the on the back side of the pencil.
Yeah.
And that thing was like you could get real accurate with your erasing.
Yeah.
It was great. You could get into the divot or the groove.
Yep.
The groove of where your pencil mark is and really get that shit gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
So I liked having that wedge,
Yeah. Well, what I usually did is I just worked that goddamn eraser right flat completely
Sure.
flat. The one built into the pencil.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Just flat as fuck.
Sure.
Then what you do is you mash that aluminum, that metal, whatever the fuck it was.
Right.
When it was all the way down to
You get
flat,
a little bit more. You get it to kind of squeeze out.
squeeze
a little
out, like
Yep.
squeeze a bow out a little bit.
Right.
And you'd use that as best you could. Then you'd squeeze it the other way.
bit. Yeah.
So
now,
now
how
you-
would you squeeze it? You'd squeeze it with your teeth.
You just bite
Yeah.
into it. Or what I would do is I'd put my thumb on one side and I'd press it down really hard on the desk.
Oh,
Press
see,
it down.
yeah.
Flip it over one way. Press it really hard in the corner of the desk. Flip it over. Press it really hard. Use that until that's gone. then take the other way and press it, and pretty soon I ended up with just the metal on the end just looking like an asterisk. Because I've pressed it so many ways, and there is no rubber left in there. And then if I was lucky to get my hands on one of those eraser pencil toppers, I'd put that over there in the end, and I get more use out of it.
Nice. Were you a pencil biter?
I did not like.
Do you chew on your pencils at all?
I didn't like that at all.
Huh. I remember it having a very distinct flavor.
It did have a I have chewed on one.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. But it did have a distinct flavor and smell.
Yeah, because it was cedar. It's
Oh.
made out of cedar wood.
Well, if you're using it again, if you're using a Ticonderoga,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is also, again, I stated before, if you're getting in a pencil battle, you better have one of those or one of those ones that you got out of the machine that are rounded.
Where you're whacking each other's pencils.
Yeah. And oftentimes those are banned. The ones that you get out of the machine, the rounded ones were banned. So you got to
Why?
because they were thicker and they were stronger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And if you had those gummy, weird composite ones, fuck off. You're losing that pencil battle like that. It's gone.
Really? Would those snap
Terrible.
like super easy?
Yeah,
I remember they would break
they would-
sometimes. If you broke them in half, it would just like, it was a clean
It was a clean snap
in half. Yeah.
They would bend to a point and then they would just
Right,
snap.
right.
They would just snap.
Oh, okay.
So like
Okay.
the problem with those was if you're trying to pencil battle, when you're pulling them back,
Yeah.
that's usually when you snapped them.
Okay.
Because you had to get enough. Did you not pencil battle?
I didn't do a lot of pencil battling. I
So-
saw kids doing it, but I never got into it because I wanted my pencils to be cool.
You know, the gambler in some of us, there's a gambler. I'm like, I got 5 of them. I can
I can lose a guy. I can
lose
afford
one.
to lose a couple of
I
these.
can lose one. In fact, oftentimes I'd still use it.
Oh, sure. Well, you'd
know-
have to, especially if you had your little your eraser topper.
You put that on there.
Just put that right on the.
And then
broken
when you
part.
get to the other half that has the eraser, you just
Yeah.
resharpen it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You'd hold it like.
Yes. No, I
Okay.
know what a pencil battle
I'm
is.
just trying to think. Can we even explain this?
Yeah. So one person holds their pencil out. The other person
In what way though?
horizontally, right? You have to hold it on the ends.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other person who's battling that person takes their pencil and like bends it back in their hand and lets it go, lets it spring
snap.
forward and hit the other person's pencil. You're trying to break that
Yeah.
pencil.
And then
Right.
if you don't break it, then you take your pencil, you turn
Yep.
it sideways.
You turn it sideways
They
and
do
it's
it-
their turn.
Yeah, it's their turn.
Yeah.
You keep doing it.
Right.
I think Bo Campbell was a master of that thing. Don't fight him. You're losing your pencil. You're getting a
losing
broken
your pencil.
pencil. There's no winning.
He's got a system.
He's like Sylvester Stallone and Over the Top. You're not winning. But those other composite ones, you'd pull them back, and that's when they'd snap.
Right.
It wouldn't be like
because they were a little bit more elastic.
But also when you held them out like that too, like you were the one getting it, like trying to not get it broken, like you're holding it.
Sure.
Those would snap. Those things.
Okay.
Terrible. Garbage.
Good to know.
Don't do it.
Good to know.
Good to know.
I'm
Hey,
learning a
look,
lot.
if you're on the
Learning
streets
a
and you get
lot.
yourself in a pencil
Do
battle,
a pencil battle.
get a Ticonderoga. Make
You're in
sure
the streets of Chicago.
Yeah.
Get into a pencil war.
Now let's talk about, since we're on pencil toppers,
Okay.
because there were things that were just pencil toppers. That like cool.
So-
like I've got Garfield at the end of my pencil.
but weren't they
It does
all
nothing.
kind of eraser type things?
Typically they were, but
Like-
there was some shit like that were just hard plastic and they were meant to look cool. And that those were like, come on, like what are we doing?
I don't remember any of that. I remember like the different shapes of like, eraser. Well, I guess they had the troll doll toppers.
Yeah, they had the troll doll
Right.
toppers. You rammed it right up their fucking crotch.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and they were hard, and then they had the hair.
Yeah. They were hard and they had the hair on them too.
And then so to erase anything, you had to pop them off and get to
Yeah.
But the ones that were always weird is, I would get these, and I don't know if anyone else remembers it. It would be shaped erasers, so it'd be oftentimes like, oh, look,
like a bear or a car,
Garfield or
like
car or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was a weird, soft kind of rubber.
Yes, and you couldn't leave it on the pencil. You had to take it off to actually use it as a substandard eraser.
Yes, and it was a substandard eraser. And most, it just kind of smeared.
I remember those too.
But
those had a weird smell to them.
Yes,
too.
I was just gonna say, dude, I love the fucking smell of those.
Rubber smell to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Loved them.
Yeah, I remember those things.
Dog shit erasers, but they're cool.
Oh yeah, they
had a cool feel to them and a smell to them.
And I think I got most of those from the dentist's office as well.
Maybe.
Like they had a little like a literal treasure chest at the dentist's office.
Oh,
so
and you'd
every time
reach
you
in
would go, you'd reach in and you grab. You could take like two things. You know.
I forgot about that.
But then there were also like the big pink erasers too.
Yeah. I loved those.
Those things were great because they lasted for fucking ever. And you could erase them. You could like use them and kind of whittle them down with just erasing pencil into like different kinds of shapes and like smoothness and stuff like that. Those were always fun.
I think that JD explained those as a trapezoid shape if you looked at them from the like the way like, you know, the
if you looked at them from the side.
From the side. Yeah,
a very thin trapezoid.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Totally.
Did you ever, let me ask you this. Did you ever see the one that was that kind of eraser that was a trapezoid and one side was pencil eraser and one side was pen eraser?
Yeah, but the pen eraser never
worked. And it was a pen eraser because it had grit in it.
Yes.
And you were
sanding down
the paper.
The paper, yeah. And they Bic made like an erasable pen too, and they had the same thing. It was like they had in the cap, it was that dark like gray black eraser in the cap. And we had those for a little while too. And they worked.
But the ink was kind of garbage in them yet again.
Yeah.
Kind of garbage. Like you could smear it off with your finger.
How they wrote very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like later on too, like you would get in those like art supply cases that you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
I keep on tapping my microphone. Sorry about that.
That's
whoever's listening. But in those art supplies, it would come like with a really nice white eraser. Or if you got a really nice set with the markers, the pastels, the special crayons, and the special colored pencils and stuff. Like if you got a really nice set, like maybe your grandparents bought it for you one year, it would come with one of those like almost clay erasers.
Right.
Where it was like you could
mold it
into
like,
a ball.
It was
like you know, it was harder than silly putty.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was almost like that tack that you could hang your posters up with without putting holes in your wall.
Yeah.
But it didn't have the stickiness.
No,
you could mold it like that. It was very much rubber.
Yep.
And it would erase. Yeah, you could. Oh yeah.
And those things were like, you got one of those, dude. You fucking held on to that.
Those
shit.
Smelled really good too.
I don't remember the smell of those
rubber,
ones, but it was always like a weird kind of like light gray, and then once you would start using it more, it would like collect graphite and turn and more dark and dark and dark.
And if I remember correctly,
swirly.
When you got them in there, they were like perfectly like a clean square.
Yes.
You pull it out and you start kneading it and turning into like a wad of chewed up gum.
Yeah.
And then you just like whatever shape you need to.
The problem with those is that as a kid, your hands are so fucking dirty.
Yes.
That you're just kneading dirt and grime into that
from
thing.
under your fingernails.
Yeah. So when you would use it, sometimes it would leave like dark streaks on your paper.
Oh shit! I just bumped into the mic now. Yeah, totally. How about this? How about the weird erasers too that were not quite like, I can't explain it, but they would crumble. Did you ever have those weird ones?
I hated those.
That were like,
they were usually white in color and then cut into a shape.
Yeah, and you'd go
right?
like you'd start rubbing
like
it.
a chunk would come off.
A chunk would come off. You're like, what the fuck is this? I'm like erasing one little, like the whole ear's broken off.
Like
what is
tearing
this?
apart?
Bullshit. It's just tearing apart.
Tearing apart.
Terrible. God.
What garbage, man.
I know.
I mean, we wonder why we have a problem in our country's landfills right now.
Yeah, right.
let's move on to something else. So what else do you remember like bringing to school? Were you the type of kid that would sneak in some sort of toy?
No, not
Bring
really.
any toy or anything like
really.
that? What about crafting any implements of destruction during class? Did you do that?
Oh shit! You mean like?
We made crossbows.
Oh, I didn't make. How did you do that?
So we would cut apart pieces of pens, and then use like a Bic pen. We set up like, if you had like a bigger pen, right? It would come with like the hard plastic like cover.
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
And these were typically, they were like the really sharp pens, that had like super duper ink in it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And if you cut the tip off of that, it was the perfect kind of like circle to fit a Bic pen through.
Okay.
And so you would attach that with masking tape to another pen, use a, this is to make like a crossbow, right? So like,
yeah.
You'd tape or glue a thumbtack to the tip of the Bic pen, and that would be kind of your bolt, right? Or your arrow.
Uh-huh.
And then you have this, circle cap that now has no end on it. That's kind of the barrel that this thing goes through. And so if you got like one of the bigger paper clips, that would hold up when you threaded a rubber band around it. And so you would use that on the tip of another Bic pen, and you fold it up like a crossbow, right? And then you tie the rubber band around that, and then you pull back on that bolt with a fucking thumbtack at the end.
Damn, dude.
And you're using that cap as kind of a straight, barrel.
It's like a zip gun in lockup, dude.
Holy
Look out.
shit, dude. We put so many of those fucking things into the ceiling in 6th grade. It was incredible. And I'm flabbergasted that me and Brian Morgan never got in trouble for having that in class. Like, I swear
did the teacher ever
the
see
teacher
you?
must have saw it. They had to have. I mean, we were fashioning these things we were making them for friends.
I do remember like guys that would make like blow darts out of empty hollow pens in some fashion, shit like that.
Used for spit wads and stuff. Yeah.
You just reminded me too, like the old desks that were there.
Oh yeah. Ones that could open? Did you have the?
I think there were ones that you opened.
Yeah.
It didn't matter either way, but I always laughed at the little reservoir at the top where you could put your pens in.
They never held anything.
Well, I mean, if it rolled up there,
they were never deep enough though.
I always found them deep enough.
Oh,
the problem I always found with them is the amount of like gouging and ink that guys had just like run through this trench. It was just like
or carved into the top.
It's like so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like the particle board in there is just like just chewed to shit.
Well, later on in the late 80s too, we got like newer desks and like it was sorry, that sound was the chair headrest, not the sound of Dodrell's butthole.
Yeah, no, I moved to drink something and the whole thing went grrr, and I went brrr, and I brought it back up.
But like later on, so we had the particle board with like the fake like linoleum wood on top or whatever that is,
almost.
or Formica. But then there was like this weird kind of composite plastic material that we ended up with. That might have been like junior high or something because those were newer desks. Like it was a hard plastic, like molded top or something like that. You don't remember those?
I don't remember that. I'm trying to think of what we even sat in high school. I don't even remember that.
I guess that must have been more where the desktop is attached to the chair too.
Yeah,
right?
and it kind of that's right. It didn't, and you didn't. There
was no opening. There was no desk.
There was no
and or like drawer. Or
you had a thing
like
underneath your seat that was like a metal
basket or
you
something.
Put stuff in. Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember like fondly like the desk in like 6th grade class where it would open. You'd open the top of it and you'd keep like your main things in there. In those desks, but man, they would get like some kids would like leave food in there and shit.
Yeah,
just get so fucking stinky, dude.
Gross.
Yeah,
gross. I remember too, if you got something like one of those wacky pencils that had the tips or some sort of crazy eraser, you leave that in your fucking desk,
It's gone. Gone. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Another story. This is the first time I ever got punched in the face.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 6th grade. We did a white elephant gift exchange.
Uh-huh.
I got a set of markers that I stole from Graham.
What do you mean? It's a white elephant. So you stole markers to gift to yourself?
Oh, maybe we
What are you
didn't do it
talking
that
about?
way. Have you ever done a white elephant where you can steal somebody
Oh
else's
yeah,
gift
like
when
it's
it's
like
your turn?
you get one.
Maybe that we didn't do that. That was probably like they probably weren't going to do that in an elementary school class.
Yeah, I was going to say you get.
I'm going to take that one from you.
you. I get one chance. I'm going to use
No.
this to take that. Yeah.
I think I got the markers, and Graham missed out on it. He was super butthurt about it. I made fun of him for it
Oh man.
because he was super grumpy and mopey about it. I was like, "Oh, Graham didn't get his markers." He came over and fucking just decked me in the face.
Wow.
Yeah, at recess. I
Wow.
never told on him. Nothing. It didn't hurt, but I was dazed, like I was seeing stars.
Probably more embarrassed than anything too.
Oh yeah,
People
completely
got to
embarrassed.
see it,
completely
Yeah.
embarrassed. And then, but those markers disappeared from my desk,
Oh man.
and I'm sure it was Graham.
Fucker.
Sure it was Graham.
Let's find him. We'll beat the shit out of him right now.
He actually
You're
lives here.
listening,
Yeah,
Graham?
he's a
Beat
super
the
cool
shit
guy.
out of you, man.
We became friends.
Oh, that's
like that was like we like the next day. It was like we were working on a comic book together.
What was the comic book?
It was called Froggy, and it looked a lot like Garfield. And
Are you serious?
Yeah. And it was all about this frog and his friend, the tadpole.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be just a younger
Frog?
frog?
Yes.
That's creepy. So he was like a groomer?
Yeah, it was a pedophile frog.
It sounds like it. It's fucking weird, dude. Oh man, is that
Yeah.
it? Did we do it? I know we've got plenty more, but
I mean,
think we've gone an hour.
there's so many other things out there that like we're probably not hitting on.
I mean, okay,
But-
you could get into all various forms of paper in binder or like journals and notebooks.
Oh,
and
sure,
that
yeah.
sort of shit.
Yeah.
I had my favorite ones. I kind of hated the ones that were the corkscrew wire on the end. Kind of hated
Yeah.
those. Didn't like the way they
Because they
tore
never
out.
had like back then too. They didn't have like the portions of it wasn't perforated along the edge.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
couldn't you could never give it a clean tear.
No, when you tore it out, it had all that frayed
it had all that
bullshit.
frayed stuff on the
Yeah,
side.
and some of it got stuck in there, and it was.
Yeah,
hated
you'd have
those.
to clean it
Had
out
to clean
every
it
once in a
out,
while
yeah.
because you couldn't turn the page once it got too many
Too
tear
many of the
outs.
tear outs in there.
Yeah.
I hated those things.
I didn't like them either because they would come undone too.
That's true.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
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 After a
you
while,
had
it
that
gets
sort of
jostled
stuff. I
around.
mean, I had. Let's talk about. Okay, for 1 second.
So we're not done yet.
We're not done because I don't know if I.
I love this topic. This topic has got to be just like uber nostalgia for everybody.
I'm sure anybody.
I mean, it is for us right now.
Anybody around our age listening to this is like, why aren't they talking
Why aren't
about
they talking
this?
about
They're,
this?
they're
Yeah,
yelling
yeah.
at the fucking in
Oh,
their
yeah.
mind. They're going like, why aren't you talking about this? But
Perfect
this-
reason to email the show or leave
Exactly.
a voicemail, by the way.
Yeah, or leave a voicemail. SOD.podcast@gmail.com or the phone number is, once
shit.
again, going to buy him some time.
206-395-5763.
Okay. No, so this was less a thing at school, but definitely a thing that I had at home. Did you ever get the pad of construction paper that was multicolored?
Yes.
So it had a green cover,
Yep.
and if you flipped through it, it was like black, orange,
Yeah.
green,
Big old thick motherfucker,
big old
too.
thick, and it was that rough paper. That
Yeah,
kinda
yeah,
like,
yeah. Construction paper, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
what
I
they
mean, I
called
think
it?
that's what it was just called.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I loved that shit.
Oh, me too.
Loved it.
Yep. You never had enough of the white.
You never had enough of the white, and you oftentimes didn't know what to do with the black.
Yeah.
Unless you were
'cause,
cutting
you
it
were
out and doing-
you'd have to cut it out to make like a jack-o'-lantern
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I fucking loved that shit, dude.
Yeah.
And
Oops. My white crayon is missing.
yeah, yep.
Can't use the black paper.
Nope. You could use the silver on there.
That's already gone.
you could get the same brand with a red cover, and it was all white
Right.
paper, and that's where the magic happened for me with the green grappler, hair trigger, twin V's.
All characters that
all
I
of them.
made you draw me one night, real late night,
Drunk.
at Beth's Cafe.
Oh shit! Oh yeah!
And then I stapled them up on the wall.
That's
for you.
right.
Yeah,
Shit, that's
yeah.
right. I forgot about that.
So hopefully the green grappler's still
up there.
still hanging.
And
tough.
look, I know that Hollywood's going through the writer's strike right now, and you guys need ideas. I am not with the Writers Guild or SAG. Not saying that I'm not going to be backing them or anything, but
Yeah.
if you want to give me a call, you need some ideas. That goddamn KD Comics universe is still wide open, ready to
right.
be signed.
That's right.
Hair Trigger the movie.
You know what? I
Disney
just
Plus Green
remembered.
Grappler.
I just remembered two things that I have to mention.
What?
One, going back to the dentist's office, those weird little tablets that they would give you in your like goodie bag that you would chew on
To
and
see
it
if
would,
your
and it would
plaque
stain your teeth.
would stain your
where
teeth.
the plaque is.
Yeah, where the plaque is.
Those didn't actually work, did they?
I don't know, but I remember doing them in school. I remember that
Yes.
dentist would come, give us a toothbrush, some toothpaste, and like
Right.
we're all gonna see where our plaque is, and then we
Yeah,
do one of those
where we
tablets.
didn't brush right.
Yeah, I
and
kind
stuff.
of like the way they tasted too.
Yeah, me too.
I wanna
Me too.
eat it like candy.
The other thing I remember is that for the longest time, we would bring not a snap close school box, but like a cardboard one or a wood one, right?
Right. That was
Where
like a cigar box a little
Yeah.
bit.
My dad would send us with cigar boxes.
Yeah.
And they smelled so good.
Smelled really good.
Yeah.
Because my grandpa had cigar boxes.
Right.
And I used to use them to put stuff in. They smelled so
Oh my God, they
goddamn
smelled
good.
so fucking good.
Okay, before we wrap up,
The 80s were a crazy time.
it was a really crazy time, and the 70s. Before we wrap up, we did get an email about a discussion.
Sure did, about something that we discussed a little while ago.
And I was trying to think, was this an SOD show, or was it one of our like sidetrack conversations on You Blew
I can't remember
I don't
either.
remember.
I think it was an SOD show.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say anyway.
So you brought
I don't
up
know.
the point of
Kratom.
Kratom, which I
Yeah.
was not aware of, but you've seen it. Like,
There's a fucking place right up on Aurora that still sells it.
I don't read the
It says
signs.
Kratom here. So I guess it's a thing, right? Like people like it.
Well, just like listener, just give his first name, maybe.
Yeah.
Just
Listener
like
Daniel was kind enough to email us.
You
and
say
tell us-
Daniel? Is that who it was?
Yeah, Daniel.
Okay. All right.
And was kind enough to tell us about his experience with it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read it right here. It says,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, I'm way behind, but just listen to episode 446, where you implored anyone with experience using Kratom to write in. Another show I used to listen to, Street Fight Radio, were big fans of the stuff." And even sold it for a while. Oh my God. It's generally a fine, dry powder with a vile smell, worse taste, and truly unpleasant texture. It sounds so great.
Yeah, you're selling this.
You're really selling
I
it.
really want to do some
God,
Kratom.
Street Fight Radio must have really had the market cornered. The main dirtbag method of consumption is the toss and wash. I think we're going to find out real quick what that is. Tossing a teaspoon at a time into your mouth and washing it down with water or fruit juice before it makes you puke. What the fuck is the point of this stuff?
I used to do. It sounds like what I used to do with a kid when I was a kid with Nestle's Quick Powder.
Yeah.
Just scoop a fucking mouthful.
Yeah, but it didn't want to make you.
It fucked
It
me
didn't
up.
make you puke.
No.
Yeah.
Or Carnation's Instant Breakfast. Do you ever have any
Oh,
of
yeah,
that? Like
yeah.
a big fucking container of it. I just take spoonfuls.
Oh,
of
man,
it. It was
loved
so
it.
Good. Yeah,
Loved
so kind
it.
of like that.
Yeah,
Kinda like
I
that.
guess. You can, and I have, also make a tea that makes your whole house reek, but is much easier to consume, or buy huge capsules that still smell bad but are much easier to choke down. So what is the point of this stuff?
Well, I think we'll get to it.
Okay.
I think we'll tell us what
we haven't. Obviously, we have not read this yet. So this is we're reading it live.
I've read it.
Oh, you have? Okay.
A couple weeks ago, I think.
The actual effect supposedly varies based on strain and all that, but in my experience, it gives you a decent boost of energy for a long night of drinking. It does occasionally come back on you, though. I was heading from home up by the Pinehurst pub down to the Twilight exit for a friend's birthday.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, dude, we know those places.
For sure.
And decided to have a couple tosses of Kratom first. By the time my bus reached downtown, my guts were feeling bad. Not pukey yet, but definitely not fun. I poked my head in the 3rd Avenue McDonald's, bought 2 McChickens, fired those
R.I.P.
down,
that McDonald's.
and felt right as rain the rest of the night.
Here's the deal. If getting 2 McChickens makes you feel good,
fixes it,
if that
fixes it,
that's just
this
gotta
shit
be
is real bad for you.
Because usually it's the opposite.
Yes.
You whack down 2 McChickens, you don't feel
Right.
great.
No, not
And
at all.
R.I.P. that McDonald's McStabbies on 3rd.
Oh, I know, yeah. Wouldn't recommend trying the stuff, but in terms of low-grade legal drugs, you can do a lot worse.
Yeah.
Listener Daniel. Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Great email. Very informative.
Yeah.
Very funny. Well-written. Good grammar.
Fuck.
Wonderful punctuation. A+ all around.
Yeah,
Daniel.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What were you, a fucking English major?
Yeah, shit.
Because dang. That was a wild ride.
That was a wild ride, man.
I love it.
I
Oh my
don't
God.
think...
So it's an energy boost.
And it's a powder.
It's a powder. See, I always thought it was like a smoking thing.
That's what I
like you
figured, too.
smoked it.
If it's like a headshot, it's got to
Right.
be like...
Yeah.
Because I think I was talking about how I tried spice once.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just
and that
going to be
was smoked.
some bullshit, and it fucking messed my world up.
Yeah. See, I think I told you of my experience with it. It just gave me just a ripping headache.
I said that was part of the experience for me as well.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
damn, dude.
Oh my God, man.
Good times.
Yeah. More emails like that, please. That is fantastic. And you can email us as well at sod.podcast@gmail.com. And I'm going to give the voicemail line one last plug, 206-395-5763, if you'd like to leave a voicemail for everyone to listen to. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Well, hey, pal, thanks for making some time to do this.
Definitely, man. This was a fun episode. This is like, a lot of nostalgia there, man.
Yeah, and
You know?
produced it as well. Thanks for producing it.
Of course.
Yeah,
You're
got
welcome.
it.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. And engineered, by the way.
And engineered by you.
engineered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody just keep that in mind.
All right, buddy. Thanks again. Thanks everyone
cut
for
print?
listening.
Did we do
cut
that?
print,
Oh, no. Yeah.
I'll play us out with something. I'll put something. You got any requests?
No.
Have you not heard a drop that you'd like to hear that you haven't heard in a while? I'll put it right here. What do you want?
We got to get some drops going in this.
What do you
place.
want here? What do you want? Well, I'll add right here. Give me something.
Something about Kratom.
That would be. I'm gonna find a Kratom.
You gotta find
Christ.
some wacko talking about Kratom on the
Okay.
evening news.
All right.
There you go.
All right, Dan. Bye.
And you take this.
I take it daily, yes.
David Palatnik owns nearly a dozen stores in St. Louis selling Kratom. He says it's not dangerous.
So you cannot overdose Kratom. If you take too much Kratom, you might feel nauseous a little bit, but you cannot overdose on Kratom. And that is proven scientifically.
And scientifically by who?
Again, the American Kratom Association did a study with the University of Florida.
So I called the University of Florida pharmacists that conducted the Kratom study, which was actually a survey of 8,000 Kratom users about its impacts. Did the study prove scientifically that you can't overdose on Kratom?
No. And obviously a survey cannot prove something like that because a survey only evaluates what users are using Kratom for.
Can you take too much of this?
Yes, you can.
Dr. Michael Mullins is a Washington University physician that specializes in toxicology.
I don't think this is a safe product, and I would recommend not buying it.
So it's something you would not use?
I would not use, I would not recommend to my patients.